I do have a question for both Maddie and Jose.
Awesome.
Do either one of you stay in contact with your host families after the experience? Have you been in touch with them?
Yeah, so one of my very first host family, the one that was in the very first photo, I've lost touch with them, unfortunately. The email address that we used to use to contact each other doesn't work anymore, and unfortunately I have no way of contacting them anymore. But my second host family, I still keep in touch with her. When I went back, she was the one that I stayed with for one of the months when I was in high school. When I went back in college, while I was visiting Tokyo from Kyoto, I did visit her and her family again. And then, yeah, my mom also came to visit them. And when after I graduated college, I went back to Japan and lived in Tokyo for 2 years. While I was there, I visited her a few times. I visited my host parents. So I've stayed in touch with them a lot, which has been really nice. She also, yeah, she did a study abroad at UW, and she came down to visit us during her spring break or early summer or something.
Yeah, same here. I think when I got back, it was a little bit more frequent, our communication. Now it's down to about maybe once a year that we hear from each other. I really appreciate from her, and she really likes to give me like life updates, I guess, of her family. And it's usually during the holiday seasons. So I think she like includes me with all the other students that have stayed at her place. So it's really nice just to hear from them and see how things are going.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, is there anything else, Jose, that you want to wrap up with?
I was just looking back through the questions here, and I think just one, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
The only one is the challenges, any particular challenges that you might have faced that you would point out to future students who want to study abroad.
I think had to go, so it's just Jose and Maddie right now, just so you know. Edith had to get off early.
Okay.
So for mine, like Jose kind of mentioned, living with a host family is definitely kind of a mixed bag. There are some things you wouldn't be able to do or experience otherwise. There are some things that you can't do or experience if you're with a host family because of, you're limited to their schedule, or, the program may be oriented a certain way. So, it's something to be aware of. Also, something else to be aware of is how kind of rigorous your program is. I know that in general, study abroad programs tend to be a little lighter on the academics because they really want to push the experience the local culture, see the world kind of side of things. My program, because Doshisha is a rather prestigious university in Kyoto, and the American colleges and universities that were partnered with it are also fairly like small, like expensive tuition private schools. They wanted to make sure that they were like holding the standard that people were paying a lot of money for tuition for. Because I forgot to mention, the way that it worked in this particular program is I just kept paying my normal college tuition, and that was transferred to cover all the fees of the program. So it wasn't any different for me than how I was normally, my scholarships and everything still carried over. But that meant that I had to spend more time in my room researching and writing essays than some people would, depending on their program. So again, that may or may not work. That's just something to be aware of. And if you have certain expectations for what your program is going to look like, factor that in when you're deciding your program.
Yeah, I would echo that, and also say that for me, I knew that my time there was relatively short, considering that my program itself was only 4 weeks, even though I had a week prior and a week after. So I was very ambitious and like trying to use as much time as I could to go explore and do as much as I could. I got to a certain point where I kind of hit a wall. I even got sick, and it was the strangest sickness ever because I was literally sick for like 24 hours, but I got really, really sick. I got a fever, and then the next day I was back to myself. But I think I hit that point because I wasn't sleeping very well. I was going to school, coming back home, having a meal, and then just going out with friends and seeing different parts of the city, and just going out and exploring. And I was coming home pretty late too. So I was pretty fortunate in the sense that my host family was very flexible, that they would say, here's your keys, just let us know if you're gonna be here for dinner. If not, have fun, we'll see you tomorrow. So it was very flexible, but at the same time, I was not managing my time in a very healthy way because I wasn't sleeping very much. And that hit me about halfway through my travel, my trip there. And then I was having a hard time focusing on my homework. And so towards the end, we had some big final papers to do. And I was really struggling. I think I got those all done like super last minute, but I got them done. And so there's like all these different things that are trying to get your attention, and all these different wonderful things you could do. But you kind of have to remember you're also there for school, and you do have to give that the time and respect that it merits, because that's why you're there. Is you're still expected to put some time and effort into your projects, to demonstrate that you're learning something, and that there's also a certain level of rigor that you have to meet. So you can't just like write a paper and meet the page requirement or whatever and be done, because they are going to grade the content. So I would say that. And then the other challenge I had was money, just being able to make sure I had access to my to funds. I wasn't going to carry a bunch of cash with me, so I needed to make sure that I had an international bank account that I could use my debit card or a credit card to use an ATM and withdraw cash in euros, or just a way to pay for any emergency expenses. So that took a little bit of creativity, but it all worked out.
So actually funny, just a point about that is I've had some opposite troubles. That another thing that'll depend a lot depending on which country you're in. For example, when I've traveled in Iceland, it's been called a plastic economy. You almost never have to touch cash, everything's with card. In Japan, they don't use a lot of credit unless they're like larger stores. They expect you to be able to pay everything in cash. And even small stores, because there's a fairly low crime rate, even like little food stands could break the equivalent of $100 bill, but they probably won't be able to take a credit card. And so, it's becoming more common, but that's another thing to kind of be aware of, is that there were a few times when I had run out of cash, and the like ATM vestibules were closed because it happened to be a national holiday, and I was kind of scrounging for money until I had to wait 2 days so I could get back into the ATMs and withdraw cash, because that's how it worked in Japan.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, does anyone have anything else? We better wrap up. Natalie, what'd you think? Did you have a good time listening to all these amazing stories?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I took a lot of notes about each and every one of them. So
awesome.
Yeah, I
And you
enjoyed
have
it all very much.
Any questions that you can think of, or are you good?
No, I think all of it just got answered. Yeah.
Perfect.
Natalie, if you start college this fall, do you know like where to even start looking for study abroad?
I do know that my high school counselors have kind of like these little talks that they'll do just to keep everyone on track on what they're trying to do when they hit college. So I guess I could talk to my counselor and see if I could get something started on that, because that definitely sounds like something very interesting to do.
Yeah, the reason I mention it is because I don't think we really talked about this very much, but every college tends to have a place or a person that manages study abroad. So it's just a matter of figuring out who that is or where that is, and getting connected with them, because that's basically the start of everything, and meeting with them just to talk about what sort of opportunities there are, what sort of financial aid, what sort of programs for different degrees they have. That's where you want to get started, and just collect as much information as you can to then make a decision on when, where, how much it's going to be, and will it fit with your needs and wants. But yeah, that's pretty much how you get started.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed Edith's where she talked about the whole scholarships and the tuition. So I definitely took a lot of notes on all of that so I could keep it for reference.
Yeah, and there's always the people that manage those programs, they're the right people to talk to about that because they will break it all down for you and let you know what options you have for financial aid.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a lot of times if you are interested in a certain university or college, if you go to their site and just Google study abroad programs, there's a lot of information, and I'll just show you that. Let's see if I can find it. I thought I pulled it up. Maybe not. Let's see. No, maybe not. Anyway, I thought I had it pulled up, but I'm not finding it right now. But yeah, there's usually full pages dedicated to study abroad. Like I know Oregon State says something about 70 countries and 100 and some programs or 200 and some programs. So there's just a lot of information on the different college websites or university websites. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. We'll wrap it up unless somebody has anything real quick before we go. I appreciate you coming again very much. Thank you, Maddie and Jose, for presenting. Thank you, Natalie, for coming. And we loved hearing about Edith's stuff as well. So thank you, thank you. Next week, we're doing trade schools, apprenticeships, certificate programs, and things along those lines.